How's it going, everyone? So a little bit different format today, but you'll see why. So I got this in the mail last week, and I was going to make a video about it last week, but I didn't. And so this might be a little bit late. If you back the Kickstarter project, you've probably already received yours. But for those who may have seen them pop up on social media or something and were thinking about getting one, I want to make this video. So this is the Galaxy photo notebook. It popped up on Kickstarter a while back. Galaxy, they make the photographic paper that comes in like medium and large format. And they've got a couple of other Kickstarter projects going on right now. Stuff like glass plates. And so they make kind of obscure things. And this is actually the first thing of theirs that I've backed and that I've kind of wanted. And it's as it says, it's a notebook. And it's designed for kind of like record keeping and stuff like that for your photographic work. But I have quite a few problems with it, so I kind of wanted to dive into that and give a real review about it in case you were thinking about getting one. So first things first is, for me anyway, the size is kind of odd. It's really thick, and because it's so small, it makes it really stubby. Now, a lot of the notebooks that I have, and I have just some, I have a ton of notebooks, and they tend to either come in one of two different sizes. So the first size is kind of this smaller size right here. I have a whole bunch of different options just to show you that they're all roughly the same size, and it's really a pocket size. So here's a moleskin, a little bit thicker, but still pocketable. This is a Scout book. They're local here to Portland. They just make little notebooks, books, stuff like that. Field notes, as I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. Same thing though. These are all pocketable. And then this one specifically, this is analog book, and this is it's another way. It's a great way to record what you're taking photographs of, really, and getting information down. This one's the large format one. They also come in medium and 35 millimeter. I have a 35 millimeter one, and I've never used it because I don't see the need. But for large format, it's really great. But same thing, it's pocketable, and it's cheap too. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have kind of the larger notebook. This one is a moleskin as well. Not as pocketable, but the thickness is really nice, and it's a really nice quality. They're a little bit more expensive. These ones are like $18 compared to most of these, which fall in the $3 range. But anyway, so you have 18 here. You have $3 roughly here. I mean, field notes come in a 3-pack for about $10 usually. On the higher end of the small spectrum, you have moleskins. This one's 14. But the moleskins are really nice. And so that leads me to this, which is $35. Now, at $35, that is a lot of money for a notebook. That gets you 2 of these really big, nice moleskins. It'll buy you a whole mess of analog books or field notes. I mean, it'll just get you so much stuff that isn't one of these. And so you might be thinking to yourself, oh, well, it's really thick. Well, let's get into it. So they sent this free pen. It's a really standard ballpoint. It's got a little touch screen thing on here, so I can use it like this, I guess, in the cold or something. But it's the kind of thing that you would get at a trade show in some booth for free just because it's got the branding logo on it. So I don't really count that as being of anything importance. So opening up the book, it does have a strap on it. It has a spot for the strap to kind of sit. I mean, I've never had that be a problem though with moleskin. Moleskin's always the strap stays where it needs to go. It also has a little marker in here as well. But so you open it up. The inner sheets are decent quality, but then you get into the actual paper itself, and it's like, this is copy paper. It's 50 weight. It's so mediocre, and it's like when you look at I'm trying to find one here now that I've thrown everything all over the place. When you look at field notes use 50 weight paper as well, but the texture on it and just the overall feel of it is much nicer. Much nicer than this. This feels like I pulled out sheets of paper from my printer. So we have an ISBN, we have the manufacturer, we have the thing. I don't know where these graphics came from. Like who? Anyway, So it's got a index, table of contents. I don't know why you would need that for a notebook. A preface, talks about the history of it, and whoever did their like proofing is horrible. You look at this. There's one space there. That's two spaces. Why is that space down? Why is this space down twice? Look at this. If you had bumped this up to be at the top of the page here, you wouldn't have this hang tag right there. Who edited this? Anyway. The pages are also numbered. I don't exactly understand why. You have a calendar of 3 years. You have important dates for different photo competitions. And then you get into a calendar. So it takes, the first 20 pages are useless. You can get rid of the first 20 pages. Then you get into a calendar. Goes through every month. September, October, let's keep going. Oh, it goes into March 2017, April, June. So it goes into June 2017. So it goes out a year because, it's January 2016. These rewards shipped out in June of 2016. So anyway, and then zone system information. Okay, flash exposure. Okay, so really it's. When you buy this, you're buying it for your record keeping. You want to use it in theory like one of these, like an analog book, where it just has information that you need to jot down. Because the truth of it is, you can find much better information and in a more like concise or in-depth manner about the zone system and everything in actual books. So in reality, it's the first 67 pages that are completely useless. I mean, that's huge. It's junk. So then we get into this. We get exposure records where you can talk about zones. Now, this is fine, but it's a lot of real estate again for something that is very specific. I mean, the zone system is something that not even all large format photographers use. I don't use it all that often. My knowledge of it is relatively simple, and so when you look at something like the analog book and how it's laid out, you just have space for notes because it feels more like they understand how it could be used. So anyway, so then we jump into large format exposure records, and so just to compare the two, they're pretty similar. It's got camera information, lens information, what film holder, what side, speed, what speed you actually exposed it at. I guess film glass or paper. I mean, that's very specific to Galaxy because they're really the only ones producing plates and paper for large format cameras. Subject information, your exposure value for your shadows, highlights, bellows factor, filter factor, and then all the way down here is your f-stop and shutter speed. Now it's like if I'm taking quick notes, if I've got my camera set up and I'm working pretty fast, I don't have a whole lot of time. F-stop and shutter speed are the first things I want to record because I can always come back and fill out. I know what camera I'm using. I know what lens I'm using. So it's like the holder, this guy, this kind of, these five up here, and then these ones should really be at the top. And you can see when you compare to the analog book, you have your ISO, aperture, shutter, exposure value adjustments. It's all of the important stuff is right here. And then I guess you could write what kind of film it is here. I don't know if that's really necessary. But the other thing I really like about the analog book is it has these quick markers, so you can go, okay, it was in sunlight, I did not use flash, the balance of the film, if it was a multiple exposure, if I was using a tripod, if I had a filter, any of that information can be jotted down really quick. So then let's keep moving forward. Now, the other thing I've noticed, excuse me, the other thing I've noticed is that there's not a whole lot of content in here. Oh, I totally skipped over these. Ads. This thing is full of ads. And then the phone's ringing, don't need to answer that. I'm paying $35 for a notebook. I don't need it to be filled with ads about where I can buy their product. And then it's like large format exposure records. It doesn't really tell you how to use it. It just tells you what it's for. It's like, well, I know what it's for. So anyway, so then there's only like 20 pages of these. And so if you're using this primarily for large format, you're carrying around this almost 300 page notebook for 20 pages of actual stuff. Ad, 135, 120, and 220. exposure records. And so that's, that's all right here. It's got kind of the same stuff. But here they go to include stuff like focus. And then, again, shutter speed, f-stop are at the end here. Camera film, date and time, subject. Anyway. Same thing, it's about 20 pages. And if you're using 36, it's like each one of the, if you're using 35 millimeter, each one of these pages is 12 exposures. So you have to use 1.5 pages to do one roll of film. But then we go on, add in-camera medium processing records. Okay, so a lot of stuff for processing. Add darkroom print records for when you're making your prints, which is useful stuff. Analog book makes a darkroom notebook as well. Let's see. Not an ad, but just a photo. Location scouting records. This is actually something I thought was pretty interesting and a decent idea for them to use. And so you've got, just kind of notes if you spot something, want to come back to it, make a quick jot about it. I do like that. Let's keep going here. And then there's just blank pages. Well, they have a dot grid on them. I guess you could just take random notes. For some reason, these ones are numbered and none of the other pages are, but these are numbered. It really interrupts the design of it. And then we keep going. And then it's got like information. Now, this drove me nuts. So much of this book, if you look at it, let's see if I can find. So it's designed to be rotated 90 degrees like such. That's fine. I get that. But then here, you have this where the text is 180 degrees. Could they have not just taken this? I mean, it's a JPEG. I've seen these graphics online. Could they have not just rotated that 180 degrees? I mean, again, though, why is this stuff even in here? And then it's got like website information. And so it's like, we then developing information, add about them. It's, anyway. Really quick, I will get into like how the paper writes because I was talking about the paper earlier. So I'm just gonna go and I have this one. I'll fill it out like I was shooting. As far as texture of the paper goes, it's a lot like printer paper, which means when you're writing on it, it doesn't give you the best feedback in the world. Pencil or pen. I'm using a couple of different leads here. It's the lead that I have in this is a 0.7 millimeter. And it's a really tough lead, and the paper is just not. It doesn't have any texture to it, so it has a really tough time actually laying the graphite down onto it. Anyway, oops, sorry about that. And then as far as the pen goes, the same thing. It's just, ugh. Anyway, so there you can see, this is it. I wouldn't recommend buying it. I would much rather take the analog book. It's pocketable. You can throw it in your back pocket. You can throw it in your camera bag really easily, and it's thin. So, if you leave it in your pocket and you have to sit down or something, it's great. This is not. This is something that has to go in a camera bag, has to be stored away, has to be pulled out, and then just used again. And it's like, why include a pen if it's not going to go on the pen holder like that? I'm done. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to subscribe and follow me on social media. And I'd love to hear your comments. Did you get one of these? What are your thoughts on it? Because to be honest, I'll probably never use it. Yeah. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.